Hello. Welcome to another video from 10x Investor Education. So let's talk about last two my videos. So in last two videos, I talked about top stocks for 2022. It's based on research from lot of top analysts. Okay, they include Berkshire, Disney, Chevron, and Berkshire and Disney already went up by 10 points, close to 10 points in last few weeks. Okay, so these are the top value stocks for 2022 based on a lot of research firms. Okay, so these value stocks, good stocks, and especially good for rising interest environments where risk appetite for no earning stocks or high price to sales stocks is less. So if depends on 2022 and in 2021, I think last couple of months, these high growth and high speculative stocks have beaten down a lot. Okay. So I have a portion of my money that I invest for a long term, this hyper growth and speculative stocks, and I try to dollar cost average these stocks. Okay. So these industries include growing industries such as EVs, hydrogen, and lithium. So you probably saw my last lithium megatrend decade stocks. This today I'm going to cover hydrogen. Okay, so this particular video I've been researching for a long time, especially the top stocks in hydrogen. If you take EV stocks, there are so many companies, including whether Tesla, Volkswagen, Ford, GM, and Neo, name anything. Okay, but hydrogen, there are not many stocks. Okay, it's very easy to pick, and you can see what companies are there in the top electrolyzer in green hydrogen, and then there is not much choice. Okay, so these stocks I'm talking about are a very long term speculative growth stocks. Okay, so if you see the stock is right now, let's say plug $28, it's not like you go on today buy all your money at $28. So you could buy at 28, if it falls some at 25 and 22 and all that. So again, so it's a mega trend. That's what I believe in hydrogen stocks. And then this next 3, 4, 5 years, these companies going to increase their revenue anywhere between 30 to 50% growth rate, which is one of the highest compared to any of the Microsoft, Google, or any of those companies. Okay, so as I said, hydrogen, I do not believe in cars, but hydrogen has a strong potential for buses, trucks, trains, cruise ships, and aeroplanes. So I don't believe hydrogen is actually one of the can be easily made green hydrogen with the current technologies, and the scale of the production can go up a lot. Right now, to make green hydrogen, 1 kilogram of green hydrogen costs around $5. So 1 kilogram of green hydrogen gives close to the same amount of energy as 1 gallon of gas. Okay, so if your gas is $3, then hydrogen cost is $5. So, but this hydrogen cost doesn't include the storage and transportation cost. So it could be affected close to $6. So right now, so hydrogen cost is almost double the cost of regular gasoline. So, but with crashing prices of electrolyzer and crashing prices of green hydrogen, next 5 to 10 years, this is going to be huge industry. So Department of Energy estimates that right now with current price of close to $5, this will go to close to $3 by 2025 and 26, and close to $1 in 2030. So even if it is at $2, I think it's going to be a huge competitor for gasoline, and there is no problem for trains and trucks, and then there is no excuse for cruise ships to replace their diesel and gasoline fuel with hydrogen. So that is where these companies are doing a great research and try to implement these technologies in different ways of communication. So let's look into what are those companies in hydrogen sector. Okay, there are only two companies I am invested in, and I actually ask people to invest in. That is Plug Power. Second one is Bloom Energy. Okay, so at high level, let's look at the stock prices and then price to sales ratio. Plug Power is actually trading at 30 times price to sales, and Bloom is around 4. Okay, so if you're low risk appetite, Bloom Energy. Okay, but I like Plug Power for multiple reasons. So they are leading in US and in Europe and even Korea, becoming a leading producer of hydrogen, and they bought a lot of companies that actually can transport hydrogen as well as store hydrogen for their customers. And also they are actually making partnerships with a lot of like such as Airbus and other service providers where they can replace their current existing fuels with hydrogen. So that's why I like Plug for vertical integration. So Plug is expensive, so you don't buy at $28, but you can cost average, and you can, for this is very long term investment for me in growth sectors. As I said, these are risky, especially if the growth stocks going to get crushed. This will go down still. But if you are looking at a lower risk, Bloom Energy. So Bloom Energy recently proved they have a electrolyzer technology that can use 45% less electricity than regular PEM electrolyzers, but they don't have as many partnership and integrations as Plug. So certainly Bloom Energy is being, their fuel cells are being used in a lot of places, and they're tying up with cruise ships. So a lot of cruise ship companies such as Norwegian, MSC, where cruise ships is one of the highest polluters in the world. So they actually try to replace their current fuels with hydrogen, and actually you can take this huge Bloom Energy fuel cells and then keep it in, and then they can use it for cruise ships. Okay, that's where they're actually prototyping in cruise ships. So that is the reason. So this is again not a short-term investment. This is a long-term investment. The way you buy these growth companies over a period of long-term is you dollar cost average and buy at different prices. Okay, so let's look into some of their partnerships, and let's look into what their price to sales ratio, and why these stocks and hydrogen can be real cost competitive environment compared to other fuels. The stock price for Plug Power. So recently I actually bought at 25 and took some profit around 45. But if you look at 3 year stock chart for Plug Power, so it almost touched close to $75 at one point and immediately crashed with a lot of other stocks in October, and then it actually recently went into 40-45 range and it came back to 28. So it actually, so basically it almost slashed by 30% recently from the stock price of 42 to 28, and the potential risk is if the stocks of speculative growth stocks still getting cut, it might actually go to $20 or $25. But with the recent market growth and also with options buying, I see for a very high long-term potential for Plug Power. Okay, so this is what it is. And if you look at valuation for Plug Power, as I said, is close to price to sales is pretty expensive. It doesn't have earnings, obviously, it's 37. So let's look into Bloom Energy. So Bloom Energy is, again, I think the price of Bloom Energy did much better. So when Plug was actually falling from 75 to $30, Bloom Energy also fell from close to $35 to $22, and then it went down, and in 1 or 2 days during last October, so basically it actually went up almost 20% in a single day. It went to 30, and again it crashed back again with the rest of the high growth stocks. So I certainly agree with fundamentals. If you look at valuation of on market cap is close to 4.4. So Bloom Energy price to sales is a lot cheaper and a lot risky if high growth stocks are being trashed. So that is the reason why I said Bloom Energy, and obviously Plug for multiple reasons. So let's look into their partnerships, what's happening recently. So Bloom Energy to power India's first green hydrogen microgrid. So as I said, Plug, the US adoption is still low, but they are going into Korea and Europe, in a lot of other places, doing a lot of adoptions. This is a good entry point from Bloom Energy, especially with the microgrid, because it's just natural gas and there are a lot of energy resources. You can use Bloom's electrolyzers to make green hydrogen. So this is really good news for actually Bloom Energy. And if you look at Plug, so a couple of major things going on with Plug. First of all, they bought bunch of companies. So Edison Motors and Plug Power signs agreement for mass production of hydrogen-powered city buses. So as I said, hydrogen is not an ideal candidate for cars because nobody making hydrogen cars, because you need a lot of the hydrogen delivery stations which are not there, and it's a lot expensive to build like EV charging stations. So whereas these buses and aeroplanes, cruises, trains, you don't build hydrogen stations a lot of places. If you have an airport, you have to build at airport. If you have a bus station, you have to build at bus station. So once green hydrogen is made, it's easy to deliver that hydrogen in tanks to those locations, and then they can use that hydrogen in their buses, trucks, and other trains and other things. Okay, so this is where they actually try to mass produce these buses, because buses need a lot of energy and electrical vehicle batteries are not there for extended range of mileage. So on top of EV buses, hydrogen buses is another solution a lot of people are working on. This is easy solution in China, India, and a lot of other countries where they depend on a lot of buses. So the next one, Certarus and Plugport partner on green hydrogen supply and expansion distribution. So this is basically is a top transporter of compressed natural gas and plug power they are tying up with, so that actually this is the important thing where these partnerships are lacking in Bloom Energy. Yes, they can certainly make efficient electrolyzers, but they need a lot of partnerships. So this is where actually Plug is ahead in the game. So these guys already transport natural gas. So once Plug electrolyzer stations, major stations produce, you need these partnership companies to transport their hydrogen to the Plug's customers. And also Plug Power request frames group to boost engineering process and system integration capabilities. Again, this is around 300 employees. They already have close to $100 million revenue. So they are using their shares and money. Again, Plug has a lot of money, so I don't see any potential for any major surprises. They're using money and shares, stocks to actually buy a lot of these companies and stay ahead of this sector. So that's what's happening. So again, so this is an overview on article. Some facts are pretty recent, some factors are not pretty recent, but still I would like to go through, 1 week old article. I would like to go through what's happening in overall Plug Power. Okay, so right now, so hydrogen, this is talking about hydrogen space and the upside potential where it can be used in trucks and aeroplanes and a lot of other places. So hydrogen increasingly seen as a viable clean energy option. Okay, so investment thesis, the guys actually invest into Plug Power, and obviously this could be biased, so let's look into that. Is a leading provider of green hydrogen fuel cell systems. It was the first to create commercially viable market for hydrogen fuel cell technology and already deployed more than 50,000 units of fuel cell systems. Okay, so the revenue comes from three segments for Plug Power. Okay, so current $470 million revenue came from 90% of the mix. So rest of the 2 to 3% is coming from hydrogen. So, however, due to rapid growth, Plug Power will be seeing in the next 5 years. So this is the rapid growth we are talking about. Okay, so right now their fuel cells that they deliver to Amazon, Home Depot, and Walmart, things like that, most of the revenue coming from, but they are losing a lot of money on that. So first they'll be growing that revenue from 470 million, double the revenue by 2025, and then as you can see here, EV stationary is around 0.5 billion, and green hydrogen is what supposed to be promising it $1.5 billion revenue. So close to, by 2025, close to $2.5 billion revenue, even $2 billion a lot, and hopefully by this time they'll be profitable. So let's look into the forecast. So this is the roadmap describes 4 phases of next decade to develop hydrogen across applications. So whether you take cruise ships, aeroplanes, R&D, and a lot of other places, this is where next 5 to 10 years the growth will be. So transportation, namely heavy duty vehicles, planes, etc. So there is much evidence that hydrogen poised for strong growth in future. So the US alone, according to the US Department of Energy, there are currently 17 megawatts of electrolysis of green hydrogen production by 2030. So we are talking about 17 megawatts, and here we are talking about 13.5 gigawatts, which is like 13,500 megawatts capacity available. That's a lot of green hydrogen that need to be produced at a reasonable prices. So the growth rate talking about is 44%. So Plug Power acquired, okay, the first thing is not to get into this hydrogen market. So Plug is basically fuel cell company, then they got into hydrogen. They acquired in 2020 Giner ELX in 2020, which management team of decades of experience in PEM electrolyzer market. So what is this PEM? Plug Power PEM technology has clear advantages of our competitors. So high efficiency, high gas purity, operating pressure, and a lot of, as you can see here. So this basically the acquired electrolyzer company, they want to expand this and build huge gigafactories to make hydrogen in large quantities and sell make it at a lower price and sell it at a lower price. So Plug Power is first and only player in industry to have the technology as well as offering across the entire value chain. As I was talking about the vertical integration, Plug Power there is known as compared to other integrations. Plug Power does acquisitions in areas where it does not have an expertise. For example, it acquired applied cryo technologies, which we talked about, and also acquired frames group. So basically transportation and delivery of these electrolyzers. So they can expand, these companies can expand electrolyzers in different locations and transport hydrogen to their customers. So, and obviously, Home Depot, General Motors, Walmart, Amazon, there are a lot of customers where they actually plan to supply the hydrogen so that current alternative fuels they can replace and with hydrogen. Apart from these materials handling customers, Plug Power has seen a wave of new interest from large OEMs and even from aerospace companies. So recently, Boeing has a partnership with Plug to test out the hydrogen and the hydrogen infrastructure at the airports. So, and also Edison. I was talking about Edison Motors, and also as partnership to mass produce these vehicles. And this is talking about Airbus partnership, large feasibility study explore opportunities to incorporate green hydrogen at the airports in the future, not just aeroplanes. So Boeing will be actually testing out the engines that use hydrogen, working on the engines that use hydrogen, whereas Plug will take an airport in US and actually build infrastructure of hydrogen at that airport, so that not only aeroplanes but also all vehicles there in the airport can use hydrogen instead of other fuel. So I believe that Plug Power positioning as a leader in hydrogen space and one of the best technology and vertically integrated ecosystem. So if you look at here, so this article talking about I like Plug Power vertical integration to Tesla's strategy. So basically it's saying is a Tesla of hydrogen, which it could be, I don't know whether it's true or not, but they are trying to be there what it is. Okay, so by 2025, every year Plug Power has a symposium. Plug Power expressed $3 billion in annual sales of this green hydrogen. This is up from $500 million in 2010, representing a growth of 500% over 4 periods with a 56% annual growth rate. So this is what we are talking about. So if they can deliver the electrolyzers, mass produce hydrogen, deliver to the customers, and they can certainly make $3 billion because there is a need for this hydrogen, and there are not many companies that can make hydrogen at that price at a large scale. So the valuations as I was talking about here. So right now plug power is 27x or close to 30x price to sales ratio based on 2022. Current right now it's close to 30 and reduced to 27. And as you can see here, Bloom Energy is actually close to uh, 4x price to sales, and it'll be 3x next year. And then again, it actually, so it has more potential to be more profitable much earlier than plug, depending on how plug actually can show their revenue growth. So again, a lot of risk factors we're talking about. As you know 50% of plug power revenue comes from two customers. I think it's a lot more than 50. I think close to 80% comes from Amazon, Walmart, and Home Depot, two or three customers, which is a huge risk factor if they try to go to another company, and another company that produces these fuels at a lot lower prices. So, and also competition from, for example, if they lose, this is very huge risk for plug. If you lose one customer, which means 20% of the revenue, which means like stock can go down to like by 30%. So competition, so which very low, I mean, risk. The reason because the companies have signed agreements and the companies are getting millions of worth of warrants for plug power to be the customer. Okay, so yeah, this is a customer concentration risk, but there are very low chance the customers will leave plug power. Okay, so again, a lot of this total addressable market is again a lot of assumptions. We really don't know whether they can deliver at the price that they are saying and whether they can expand at the growth that they are talking. So again, as I said, this is a speculative growth, but I do believe in hydrogen as being the mega trend for next 5 to 10 years, where the mass production of hydrogen price should go down with these gigafactories building to make hydrogen. So this is how a Bloom Energy, electrolyzer look, and with the fuel cells look stations, and they are actually building electrolyzers with 40 to 50% less energy with high temperatures, superior value at high temperatures. That is where they are marketing. So I think they might have better electrolyzers than plug power, which I'm not sure, but in either case the technology will go down. I think they'll be able to produce hydrogen almost at the same equivalent as the technology develops. And at the next, it comes the vertical integration, because it's not just developing the hydrogen. You have to deliver and you have to store that hydrogen and you have to deliver that hydrogen for your customers. That's also important. So Plug Power partners with Airbus on landmark study to decarbonize air travel airport operations with green hydrogen. So this is another recent one in October. So so again, this is a major announcement between Airbus, which is a major company, and also Plug. So they are going to pick one airport, and Plug is going to build infrastructure, whereas Airbus is going to build engines for aeroplanes that use hydrogen. So again, there is comparison article of plug power versus Bloom Energy, which we have seen already the price to sales ratio. So as I said, if you are like you know low risk, certainly a lot of infrastructure money from which already passed is going into this hydrogen production to reduce the cost of hydrogen in next couple of years. As I said, Bloom Energy is tied up with Heliogen, which actually reduces the cost of hydrogen. That's the reason why a lot of cruise ships are tying up with Bloom Energy for their fuel cells. So so certainly a lot of investment, like in a lot of uh, big investors are pumping money into these hydrogen based companies. That's another reason why these stocks can do well in next couple of years. Okay, so Bloom Energy tapped among the top energy plays Raymond James. So for 2022, Raymond James picked Bloom Energy with huge potential. Again, even Plug actually has a lot of analysts buy rating between $35 to $50. Bloom Energy also has a good buy rating for 2022. So again, Heliogen and Bloom Energy demonstrate production of low-cost hydrogen concentrated solar and high-temperature analysis. So if you look at, you can watch this video. Basically, they are showing close to produce 45% more efficiently than low temperature PEMs and other alkaline electrolyzers. So as I said, electrolyzer technology is different, and Bloom Energy has unique electrolyzer technology that can actually reduce the cost of green hydrogen production, which is very important when you are producing this hydrogen in mass scale. So the analyst that is covering Bloom Energy for Raymond James is a five-star analyst and is big, you know, making a making a big bet on Bloom Energy price 34 target with a close to 55% upside. So this is just showing articles about fuel cell system discussed at MSC's newest cruise ships, as you can see here. So if you look at here, though, so this is technology. This system based on technology from Bloom Energy is a solid oxide fuel cell SOFC that will made up of 275 kilowatt modules. The fuel cells using LNG will produce electricity generated by electrochemicals. So basically, the electrolyzer, Bloom Energy electrolyzer, and Bloom Energy fuel cells modules, they'll be using it and they'll be deploying in the cruise ships. This is a breakthrough technology for cruise ships. As you can see here, hydrogen powered cruise ships concept unveiled. A lot of hundreds of these cruise ships will be powered by hydrogen. You cannot power these cruise ships with batteries. That's not going to happen. Similarly, trains you can't power with batteries. They need a lot of energy, and hydrogen is the only solution. Okay, so again, this is not an investment advice, whether it's a plug or Bloom Energy. This is purely for education. As I said, I invested in both, and I'll be buying, looking for dips and adding to position for a long-term investment. So if you like this video, please click like button and let me know what you think about this hydrogen mega trend for 2022 and 2023. Thank you.